because the month of May ended with a jury convicting Donald Trump, finding him guilty of 34 felony crimes.
Kirshner walked everyone through the trial step by step, recapping the events leading up to Trump's conviction. He depicted how Trump's humiliation grew worse every day during the 7-week trial. By the time it was all over, Trump had absolutely lost all credibility and had been found guilty, despite having no evidence to support his innocence. Rather, he succeeded in demonstrating to everyone how truly terrible he is. Kirshner showed no hesitation at all. He blasted Trump for everything that had occurred in the previous 2 weeks, pointing out all of the awkward situations and inappropriate actions.
Today, we start with a headline. Trump doesn't rule out political violence if he loses.
It was a vicious takedown that showed how Trump's own deeds brought him to ruin. Friends, let's start this morning with this headline. If Trump loses, he doesn't rule out political violence. Let us first discuss the early stages of Trump's legal issues. Trump was clear that he would not accept a guilty decision from the moment he was first indicted. He didn't even consider the possibility that he might be found guilty. Why? Because he maintained that he had done nothing wrong and that, being a former president, he was entitled to certain benefit. In all of his ignorance and stupidity, Trump asserted that his immunity from prosecution prevented him from being held accountable for any crimes he did while in office. Since we've been hearing about his position on this for a while, we can honestly say that we're not at all surprised by this statement. We have previously informed you on numerous occasions of a case in which Trump's legal team essentially stated that he would not be held legally liable if he ordered SEAL Team 6 to eliminate a political competitor. John Sauer, his attorney, believes that Trump's presidential immunity would protect him, and it's hardly the only absurd thing that Trump has stated. Recall that 8 years prior, right before the Iowa elections, when Trump asserted that he wouldn't be held accountable even if he shot someone on Fifth Avenue. However, one of his worst decisions was during the George Floyd protests in 2020. Trump became irritated with these folks and went to the defense secretary to ask if they could just start shooting them. The U.S. military should shoot demonstrators, the commander-in-chief suggested. Indeed, in the public spaces of our country's capital. Yes, it is correct. Throughout the trial, Trump did not once acknowledge that he had committed 34 felonies, including the falsification of company documents. He denied having a sexual relationship with Daniels, and his attorneys maintained that the money he paid Cohen was a reasonable legal bill and had nothing to do with any kind of cover-up.
10 counts of criminal contempt of court for Donald Trump. And yet, still no actual account.
Another concern shared by many was Trump's potential response to a guilty verdict. There was genuine concern that a guilty decision would incite him to take vengeance and become hostile toward everyone concerned. Some even predicted that Trump would incite his supporters to commit acts of anarchy and violence, similar to what happened on January 6th. According to studies, almost 1 in 3 Republicans think that using violence to rescue the United States might be necessary. Alarming statistics show that Republicans support Trump mostly because of his aggressiveness, rather than because they really agree with him on social or economic concerns. They find it exciting that Trump seems to be radiating hatred. Glenn Kirschner then went into detail on the trial's final phases, and let me tell you, it wasn't nice. It was actually blatantly unattractive. Trump's rage persisted, and it appeared that he would disobey the judge's rulings at any cost. He disregarded the regulations flagrantly, which fueled the flames and raised the stakes in the courtroom. Donald Trump is facing 10 counts of criminal contempt of court, yet he has not been held to account. Judge Merchan imposed a gag order on March 26th to suppress Trump's public remarks, alleging threats, incitement, and defamation of public officials in his remarks. Trump was prohibited by the injunction from making comments against prospective jurors, witnesses, court personnel, prosecutors' offices, attorneys, and pretty much anybody else who might be connected to the case. However, this is a challenging balancing problem. Trump continued to speak out in public and publish on his social media platform, Truth Social, in defiance of the gag order. Though we're quite sure there were closer to 100 than 10, prosecutor Chris Conroy cited 10 of those posts to make his case, stating that the court should now hold him in contempt for each of the 10 posts. Even after the court imposed a gag order on Trump, he consistently violates it. Trump consistently finds a way to publish objectionable stuff on Truth Social during his breaks from the gag order, whether it's during lunch or a trip to the restroom. It seems like he breaks the judge's gag order order every other second of his existence. The judge imposed the legislation, ruling that Trump would have to pay $1,000, the maximum fine for each infraction. The judge went so far as to threaten Trump with jail time if he persisted in disobeying the gag order. However, as they say, good things come to those who wait, and it won't be clear until July whether Trump is imprisoned. Though let's face it, Trump has toned down his antics somewhat since then. Although he has been more circumspect, he hasn't exactly been an exemplary citizen either. He's still hurling barbs at people, but he's doing it with a little more tact. But when the big guns started to show up, that's what really got him quiet. When Stormy Daniels did eventually take the stand, her testimony of a tense encounter in a Lake Tahoe hotel room was heartbreaking.
Rolled in to a New York City courtroom today. That's right. Witness Stormy Daniels.
She shared some incredibly detailed information regarding her interactions with Trump. She did, however, characterize his manhood as being smaller than typical, but not abnormally little. I lay there annoyed that I was getting intimate with a guy who had Yeti pubes and a dick like the mushroom character in Mario Kart, she said, describing the entire encounter. Since then, jokes have been made about Trump's toadstool-like pee, which has taken on the appearance of a mushroom. The trial's most anticipated event was undoubtedly the testimony, and boy, did it live up to the hype. It's true that Stormy's only intention when she appeared in court was to degrade Trump as much as possible in front of everyone on the planet. And let's be honest, she was successful. Everything from the minute she stood up was intended to undermine Trump's reputation gradually. The star of this judicial drama was Stormy. It's not hyperbole to argue that she was instrumental in holding Trump accountable. She was the courtroom's owner rather than merely a participant, and her evidence was like a wrecking ball that tore down the barriers of denial and dishonesty. Stormy performed a fantastic job making sure that Trump was held accountable for his deeds. It was evident from Michael Cohen's testimony, Trump's former attorney, that the candidate was worried about the election, revealing information that had previously remained unknown.
One line in particular today from Michael Cohen. In his testimony in Donald Trump's New York criminal trial, and Donald Trump is, but the criminal Donald Trump is, that perfectly and directly sums up not just the person.
This has to be among the dirtiest secrets Cohen could have revealed, and it sums up Trump's personality just fine. He believes that by sleeping with a porn star, he is gaining the respect of men, but in reality, all he is accomplishing is making people uncomfortable. According to Cohen, Trump claimed that he wouldn't be available for long, so even if Melania ended their relationship over this, he wouldn't be upset because it would be easy for him to find another woman because women are so drawn to him. Put another way, the campaign was his only concern, and he wasn't thinking about Melania at all. Republicans and other MAGA supporters came together in support of Trump during Cohen's unrelenting testimony against him, attending his trial to show their support for the man who will ultimately be found guilty. Republican Jamie Raskin of the House Oversight Committee said that House Republicans were absenting themselves from work to support Trump during his criminal trial in New York, rather than carrying out their duties by showing up to sessions, hearings, and votes. What actions do they take? They do more than only occupy the rear seat. Oh no, they cause a commotion. Outside of the courthouse, these MAGA ardent supporters are like a group of drama queens.
But today, congressional Republicans marched to a New York courtroom to support a criminal,
yelling, acting out, and causing mayhem. Lauren Boebert, a Republican member of the House of Representatives who is in New York to participate in the trial of former President Trump, made the unusual comment in court that Trump looks good when he sleeps. All of this is taking place during a session of Congress that is regarded as one of the least successful in recent memory in terms of passing legislation or achieving legislative goals. Clearly, it has to do with Republicans gaining a majority in the House of Representatives in 2023. During the concluding arguments, Blanche, Trump's attorney, spoke non-stop for more than 2 hours, uttering absurdities that caused the jury to nod off and the prosecution to roll his eyes in shock. Throughout the most of his 2-hour monologue, Todd Blanche criticized the reliability of Michael Cohen, the former Trump fixer. In front of the jury, Blanche accused Cohen of lying outright. She also called Cohen the GOAT greatest liar of all time, and recalled that Cohen had previously been found guilty of lying. Blanche said, "You cannot send someone to prison based on the words of Michael Cohen," to the jury. Judge Mercer Merchant lost it at that point. Blowing out at Blanche, he called the assertion ridiculous. Judge Merchant ordered everyone out of the courtroom with the exception of Trump's attorney, who wanted to speak with him privately. At last, the drama in the courtroom had reached its peak, and the decision was in guilty. Trump's attempts to influence the jury and divert attention away from his wrongdoings had been a complete failure. The former president and likely Republican Party nominee in 2024, Donald J. Trump, was found guilty on 34 counts of falsifying business documents pertaining to the payment that silenced a porn star despite his intense outrage. That's official, too. Trump must accept the fact that he can no longer change anything, even if we know it won't be simple for him to do so. Reactions came in from all throughout the nation as word of the verdict spread. Some praised the long overdue justice meted out to a guy they deemed to be dangerous and unscrupulous. Others bemoaned the harm done to the nation's reputation and the degrading of the presidency.